Hello everybody, welcome to my After Effects Essential tutorials. This is my first tutorial, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make these kind of trailer looking flybys, text flybys, and you're going to see how easy they are to achieve within After Effects, and you're going to be using them all the time, and hopefully it'll be very easy for you to achieve this same effect. So let's just get right into it here. I'm just going to delete that because I just rendered it out. And first thing we're going to be doing, of course, is making a new composition. So we're just going to do this 1280 by 720, 30 frames a second at square pixels, and let's just do 10 seconds for now. So let's just make a new layer, a solid here. Let's just call this background, and we're going to make comp size. And it doesn't matter really what the color is because I'll be applying a ramp to it afterwards. And let's just go ahead and type in our first title that we want. So let's just go, these are, and of course that's white over white, and we're not going to see it, so let's just make this black for now, and let's center that up, and we need a camera. So let's go to layer, new camera, and we're going to use the 35mm preset, and we're going to hit OK. This layer is unaffected by this camera, of course, because it's not 3D, so we're going to go ahead and turn on the 3D layer. And now, as you can see, we are in 3D space. So, first thing you want to do is keyframe the position and some other things on this text layer. So we're going to go ahead. First thing we'll do is hit P for the position attributes here, and that's where we want it to land when it's flying in. So I'm going to go ahead and move that keyframe that I just generated a few frames over. And this keyframe, we're going to go off the page here behind that camera, and we have this happening. And it just stops there. Move forward, and at this point in time, I want to click on this keyframe generator there to make another keyframe, and we're going to go ahead and push this back into Z space. So now we have this happening. Flies in, stops, goes back. Of course, we're not even close to being done because that doesn't look good right now. So we're going to go ahead, hold down Shift on this layer and hit T, bring up the opacity attributes, and set a keyframe there. And before it goes to maybe that far down in Z space, let's go opacity 0 at that point in time. So you have this, stops, holds that at that position, and then gets out of the way. Now at this keyframe right here, we're going to want to just ease this a little bit down so we're not just holding there, holding still. Now, this, a lot of people don't understand this. This happens because it's Bezier almost by default when there's keyframes within outer keyframes in After Effects. So you won't really get it, even though you've set the proper keyframe attributes at that point in time. It won't translate properly to how you want it. If you look at it on a graph, you can see, but let's not really get into it right now. Basically, you can stop this by selecting the keyframe that's giving you the issue and go into keyframe interpolation. And by default, it's set to auto Bezier. So let's go to linear on that keyframe, and then right click on this one and do the exact same thing. So now you'll see that you get a nice fluid animation. And we're not done yet. We're going to also set some rotation on this on the Z axis. So I'm going to go ahead and move my keyframe over because this one is at 0. And we're going to go ahead and just give it a little bit to the left here. So it's going to come in on an angle. That's what we want. And then as it comes in on the angle, we're going to also just swell it a little bit to the right. Not too much. It'll just be ever so slightly. And that might be even a little bit too much. So let's go 3 on the Z-axis there. So we just finished our first title flyby. Now, it's graphically, I mean, it's not there yet, of course, but all that pretty stuff comes after these keyframes, and stuff get out of the way first. So I'm going to go ahead here, move forward by duplicating this layer and moving it over. Now I don't want to snap right to the end of that layer because we want to get a nice little cool overlap effect. And I can choose when I want that. That's pretty good. Right there. One goes out, one comes in. Let's move it over maybe a couple frames. So, and for my next title, I'm going to say these are very easy. And that goes off. I'm going to duplicate this layer. That's a little bit too early. That's a little bit too early. Eye it out as best as possible. I mean, you want to get the same timing as that first one, but title, fly, by. So, go ahead, trim this comp. I'm going to right click, trim to comp area. So we just have a nice little easy region to work with here. So basically this is what's happening. If you hit U to expand all the keyframe attributes, it'll show you all the keyframes in the comp. It's just a duplicate layer is what's happening here. So now, I mean, it's endless possibilities as far as making this graphically okay. What I tend to do is my background, I generate a ramp. It's generate ramp effect, and by default it'll give you black and white. Doesn't really look too good. Let's maybe do a blue, I don't know, kind of somewhere there. And of course this font, I don't really like that font. For this, if I remember, I use Ostrich Sans and it was bold. So you can go ahead over to Google, and if you search Ostrich Sans, it's a gorgeous free font, and I use it often. So there's our little effect happening, and of course we're going to make this even nicer looking by setting a ramp on the actual layer itself as well, just so we can get a nice little vignette happening on the text layer. So I'm going to make this inner one white and this outer one maybe a little bit darker, just an off-white, and I'm going to bring it here. And by default this ramp is set to linear. I'm going to set it to radial, and that looks okay. Maybe I'll go blue. A little bit darker blue on the edges. Sure, you can play with it. And next thing I like doing to my text is, not a lot of people do this, but I like doing bevel emboss. I know it's a 2D kind of thing and there's no extrusion and 3D stuff, but what I like to do is size this completely up, max possible. And it just nicks those edges with your text. Just gives it a little bit more depth and some more pop, so I do that. And we're missing another thing here, and that is motion blur. This really sells the effect of motion, obviously. So to turn on motion blur, you just hit these little buttons here, and this controls the motion blur for the whole comp. So if you're working, I would turn this off because motion blur does use a lot of power. So here we go, title flybys, and you're off. And another cool effect was a little camera shake, and this camera shake adds lots of excitement, I guess, to your piece. So you can go to the position of the camera. You can hold Alt and click the stopwatch, and you could just go ahead and type in wiggle. Oh god, I don't know, 15 times a second, and those 15 times, let's move, I don't know, 6 pixels. That's how that wiggle attribute works. I use it all the time. And I'll just add a little bit of just a nice subtle shake. And these slams, of course, they look great with audio. You can get some mammoth hits, and it just really sells that whole movie trailer title flybys. So that was it. Hope you learned something. These title flybys are definitely essential for any After Effects user, whether it's pro or you're just at home and you're bored and you want to make some titles. So that was my first tutorial. I'll be making several more of what I think are the most essential things in After Effects and what I use, I guess, daily. Okay, see you later.